So that's the humility moment of going, well, I'm not always going to be right. I don't need to be right, actually. I just need to ensure that we have high quality communication, then we can win together.
Matt, we'll stay with you, Matt, on this question. This is the second last question. What is your answer to this, Matt?
This is such a huge one, right? It's a minefield. And I think being specificity helps if you were to help this individual. And because it's so big, I'll go with fundamentally, everything's communication at the end of the day, everything. Like, once we've got an interaction between two parties, it's communication. And so that's where we often trip up as human beings on our ability to be effective in it. Now, that's a big topic in itself. And so there's one practical tip that I would share with any leader, and it's the concept of closed loop communication, but said differently, just bouncing back what the other person has said. Yeah. You know, often communication comes out one way and the other person hears the instruction and the leader asks, "Did you get it?" And the person says, "Yes," but they're too fearful to actually say, "I don't really get it." Yeah. So you just ask them, "Could you bounce back to me what you've just heard?" And we've found that those words, "bounce it back," you know, like imagine the basketball's being bounced back to the other person, has been enough to trigger this closed loop communication piece. Because otherwise it's quite awkward to say, "Hey, I'm not too," because one side of it you might be saying, "Oh, I'm not confident that you understand, so tell me what you heard." It's almost rude. And then the other part too, if you show a bit of humility as a human being here and go, "Guess what, leader? We probably don't give really clear directions anyway. So it's critically important that we can hear back from our team if they've heard what we're actually thinking." Because I don't know if has anyone on the call ever done this before. You've gone to give someone like, "Hey, here are the 5 things that you need to do." And then you found out later on that you forgot to tell them the 6th step. And you wonder why it didn't work out the way that you expected it to do. And so that's the humility moment of going, well, I'm not always going to be right. I don't need to be right, actually. I just need to ensure that we have high quality communication, then we can win together. So yeah,
fantastic. So relevant. And one of the things I learned from one of my mentors when he said to sometimes play it back to if people are not bouncing back, just use the phrase, "If I hear you correctly, are you saying," and just using that interplay. I love this, Matt. Tiny changes can have a huge impact on improving communication.